What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, and it's been so much fun dusting off Shaddoll Invoked that I thought I'd bring an update to you using the brand new card of Shadow's Light, which is in Battles of Legend. So what can this card do? Well, actually a lot. You'll see at the end of the video two amazing combos for this deck, one more consistent than the other, just incredibly powerful either way. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. If you want to see more from this deck leading up to Euros, if not after Euros, make sure you get the video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, and I will bring that for you. So, let's start off with the Invoked cards. Pretty standard on this one with your Alistairs, Meltdowns, Terraforming, and Invocations. Not much more really needs to be said about that. Yes, it is going to be normal summon Alistair go brr, but it's nice to be able to do that again, considering that it's been a long time since we've actually been using Alistair, and the engine's kind of been like, yo, you've forgotten about me, let's do some fun. So that's it for the Invoked Engine. Moving on to Shaddoll cards. So for the Shaddoll cards, we are playing 2 Wendy. You can cut the Wendy down to 1 if you want to. Schemata is probably your most important one, which you'll see in the combo at the end. Followed by the 1 Dragons, you've got main deck back row hate. The 1 Genius, you can actually cut this if you want to. It's just kind of one of them ones where if you can Foolish Burial, it does give you another additional nice negate. Beast for the draw, Hedgehog, and then of course Ariel. Ariel's important, you'll see her in the combo at the end. And not to mention her send effect to deal with the graveyard can be quite useful in the right matchups as well. So, double utility. For the spells, of course, triple Shaddoll Fusion. I did consider putting this at 2 because I was like, you know what? If I open this up going first, it kind of does suck if I don't have the right cards. But I was like, at the end of the day, I can't guarantee I'm always going to go first. And this, on its own, the OG branded fusion of just, yo, send my materials from deck to grave, get everything I need, is too insanely powerful. Then, of course, we do have the 1 L Shaddoll Fusion because quick effect into window has never been more funny. And then finally the 1 Schism and of course the 1 Incarnation. Both of them just as incredibly important as the other. If you're not able to finish the OTK, getting into Schism can be game changing. Incarnation will help you in the combo as you'll see fit. And again, just having that quick effect to flip one of your monsters to give you an additional effect, whether it be a revive, whether it be a bounce, whether it be a pop, you name it, you'll get it. So that's it for the Shaddoll monsters. It's obviously a little bit more dominant than the Invocation or like the Alistair engine, so maybe it should be more Shaddoll Invoked than anything else. Then the brand new card Shadow's Light. So what does this card do? Well, fortunately it is not a quick effect, but you get to target a dark monster you control and special summon a light monster from your deck or extra deck with the same original type and level. So level 4 Spellcaster Light. I wonder what cards are in the game that are like that help fusion summoning. Yes, it is a bit of a cost upgrade considering these are probably about £25 each, give or take, but this unlocks so much for the deck. It unlocks consistent ways of fusion summoning even if your Invocation or Shaddoll Fusion is stopped. It also unlocks capabilities to synchro summon as well, which is incredibly important for the deck as well. The Shaddoll Light also has an additional effect which is very, very important. You get to banish it from the graveyard, and then during your main phase you can normal summon 1 light or dark monster in addition to your normal summon or set. You can only gain this effect once per turn, and you can only use each effect once per turn. You can't conduct the battle phase the turn you activate either of this card's effects, so keep that in mind, it's more for going first. So the reason we do this is you're actually going to tag out your Alistair into Quem, and by doing so, Quem will then Foolish Burial the Cartesia. So you're going to have a monster on the board that as soon as a monster leaves the extra deck, which you'll do during your first play, because you'll literally turn Alistair into Artemis, will then allow you to bring back the Cartesia, and then you're just good to go again and again and again. And then during your opponent's turn, whether you leave Cross Sheep on the board or not, so Quem will give you the ability to constantly keep looping the Cartesia, and in order to keep looping the Cartesia, that's just going to give you ways of constantly being able to quick effect fusion summon during your turn, then during your opponent's turn, which is near invaluable. So now we move on to the generic spells for the deck, pretty standard on this one. So I have mained the 2 Super Polys. You can cut this down completely if you want to. It's just one of them ones where it's always good in a Shaddoll deck where you can just like set a card, and then they think, oh no, they've bricked, they're going to pass, and you just set the Shaddoll Super Poly, and then you're going to be able to contact fuse their light or their dark or anything else to get you into the monsters you need. Same with Alistair really as well. And then for the power play one-offs, you've got the Cool Bite and the Foolish. And then for the hand traps, these are completely interchangeable depending on the environment you'll go into. So I've gone with 3 Ash Blossom alongside double Veiler, double Bell, and double Imperm. Now again, like I said, if your local environment loses to Droll, you put Drolls in here. If you want to put in board breakers, you can main deck Kaijus. You can main deck Triple Tactics Frost. You can main deck Triple Tactic Talents. Entirely up to you. This is just an option to show you what you can go with. The hand traps will obviously help, a little bit less so on the Ghost spell. But if you play Purgatrio, that's where Ash is going to help you out. Veiler as well is going to help you get into Macabre. But it's entirely up to you of what you want to use and how you want to adapt it to see fit. So by all means, chop and change. And that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we do have 2 Invoked Macabre. Obviously, this is the go-to one off of Alistar. And then, of course, you've got the Agedes, the Raijin. So you've only got 4 Invoked. Now, I haven't decided what the 15th card of the extra deck is going to be yet. So my options, as it currently stands for the 15th card, is a Kaliga. So you've got your own Winder in the form of the Invocation line. Dracostapelia, Purgatrio, or a summon card off of Dust Dragon. Because we are playing Dust Dragon in the extra deck, it just gives Cartesia another way of fusing on the board. And then in order to get into Dust Dragon, that can then open up the door of sending a level 6 or higher. So we can send an Apocalone to give you a Shaddoll Search. It can send a Construct to give you a Shaddoll Recycle. It could, if you want to, put in a card something like Garura to give you a draw as well. For the Shaddoll cards, we've got the 1 Construct, the 1 Apocalone, and the 1 Winder, followed by the 1 Dust Dragon. Now, Dust Dragon is a little bit interchangeable. You could take it out if you want to, because technically Cartesia, if you've got the right Shaddoll monsters or even invoked monsters in your hand or on the field, you're actually able to use her effect to fuse into any of those, because you don't have to use Cartesia. But that entirely comes out to more testing, more playing, and what your personal preferences are. We then do get the ability to play the 1 Savage Dragon, which is quite funny, because the additional normal summon, unlike a branded version where you're locking yourself into fusions, this one can utilize links, fusions, and synchros. There is a way of playing something different, like you could play something like Omega, but Savage is like the best go-to for this deck. And then for the links, you've got the 1 Artemis. I did consider trying to go with Almirad into Secure Gardener, but it's just near impossible to do, unfortunately, because the extra deck is so tight, and you kind of need the Secure Gardener to be able to be used as link material, which unfortunately it can't. Because you're going to be going into a Cross Sheep, and you're going to utilize Cross Sheep with Quem quite a lot, leading into something like a Selene, well, that can also get you into an Appaloosa and an access code. So you've got your aggressor and your defender, and you'll see in the combos in a second how you can get into Appaloosa through one of your combos and how you sit on a Cross Sheep in one of your other combos as well. So that's it for the profile. Let's move on to the combos. So here is the first combo. So this is the combo that is the most consistent of the 2, because this one involves Alistar, which is 1 of 7 cards in your deck, and then you've got the Shaddoll monster, which is like a 1 in 8 of your entire deck. So this is just counting any Shaddoll monster. Obviously, each different one will provide you with different effects and different end boards. So I'm going to show you the most consistent, and then I'll show you the most specific. Shadow's Light is the only one that isn't searchable unless you're playing Triple Tactics Frost, so keep that in mind. Starting the combo off, you're going to normal summon your Alistar, and of course, a normal summon Alistar gets you an invocation. Then what you want to do here is you want to activate the Shadow's Light, targeting the Alistar the Invoker. So you target a dark monster you control, you special summon a light monster from your deck or extra deck with the same type and level. So basically a level 4 light spellcaster. Guess we're going to be going for the Mac Daddy, that is Quem. And the reason you're going to go for Quem rather than playing 2 Cartesia is Quem will constantly give you the ability of looping cards back from your graveyard, which is really important. In doing so, on the summon of Quem, you'll also be able to send a Cartesia from the deck to the graveyard, and that's where it gets really, really important. So what you're going to be able to do here is you're going to be able to link the Alistar off and go into an Artemis. I did try, as explained in the profile, to get into Almiraj so that you had more consistent access to Purgatrio, but ultimately Artemis is the best way of doing it because you can't get into Cross Sheep if you do it the other way around. Because a monster left the extra deck, you'll be able to instantly trigger Quem's effect, which will allow you to bring back the Cartesia. It doesn't matter where you put Cartesia because she's not going to be staying on the board long. The only note is to leave these 2 zones free or these 2 zones free, depending on which side you put your link monster. You're then going to use Cartesia's effect to fuse herself with, of course, the Shaddoll monster in the hand, and that's going to give you Construct. Now, see, if you had a Shaddoll monster's effect that you could trigger, you can do. Otherwise, you're just going to be using Construct's effect. And to fill up your extra your graveyard, so you've got more access to stuff like Apocalone or Winder during your opponent's turn, we're going to send Squamata. And in doing so, Squamata will then send Schism. At this point here, what you want to do is you want to link off your Construct and your Artemis, and you're going to go into your Cross Sheep, which of course will trigger the Construct effect to add the Schism back to your hand. You then want to activate Invocation, and at this point you want to keep the Link monster in the graveyard so you can make Savage Dragon, and so you're going to banish Construct and Alistair. This is of course going to allow you to get into Macabre, which will trigger Cross Sheep's effect to revive Cartesia from the graveyard. At this point here, you want to use the Invocation effect to put itself back into the deck and add Alistair back to the hand. And then you want to use the second effect of Shadow's Light in order to give you an additional normal summon this turn. The funny thing about Alistair is it's not a hard once per turn, and neither is Invocation. So a normal summon of Alistair will get you another search of the Invocation as well. The only downside here is that if you wanted to activate Invocation, you could go for a bit of a stun play and actually put your opponent under a Appaloosa, plus go into somebody like Kaliga, but then you're kind of cutting yourself off at the legs. Another option, when you'll see when we go through Schemata specifically in our hand, is you can actually add a ride into the end board as well. So with this here, you're actually going to hold back the Invocation because now you've got a spell negate. You could hold back the Schism if you want to trap negate as well, but you're going to just sync these two together, and this is going to let you get into your Borrowed Savage Dragon, and this is going to allow you to re-equip the Artemis from the graveyard. You're then going to set your Schism, and this is not the end of it. We still have a lot more to do. So you've got the Omni Negate off of Savage. You've got a guarantee negate of a spell off of Macabre. Not to mention the other two cards that will be in your hand. If either of those are monsters, then you're pretty much covered with everything you need. Moving into your opponent's turn, you're going to activate Schism, and you've got the option to either go for Double Dark, which is a Winder, 2 Shaddoll monsters, which is an App Cologne, or if you really wanted to, you could go to another Construct, purely because that Foolish Barrel of a Construct could provide you with the effect you need, with a Beast of a Draw, a Dragon of a Back Row Pop, you name it. So in this example, we're actually going to go into App Cologne because we'll be able to gain a bit more resource. Yes, you can go Window if you want to lock your opponent down. It will slow you down a little bit, but I'm going to show you plays that you can utilize off of the back of Quem as well. So this will allow you to get into the App Cologne. Summoning the App Cologne will also allow you to either, if you put App Cologne here, will allow you to trigger Cross Sheep. If you put it here, it will allow you to trigger Quem. So, either way, keep in mind that when a monster is summoned to Cross Sheep's zone, it will also be able to trigger depending on what it points to. So because it's constantly pointing to a fusion, you'll be able to get a revive as well. You just need the space on the board. So we're going to summon the App Cologne here, and it's actually okay to be doing it here first and use Cross Sheep first and then your Quem. So, must be fusion summoned, cannot be destroyed by battle, which is really nice. You can only use each of the fun effect once per turn. If it's special summoned, you target a face-up card on the field, negate its effects. And then on top of that as well, if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Shaddoll card from the deck to the deck or graveyard to your hand, and then discard a card. So in doing so, you can trigger Cross Sheep's effect. You're going to special summon back the Cartesia, and this is then going to unlock an additional fusion for you. So let's say you've got a 2 Shaddolls in hand, or you've got 1 Shaddoll in hand. You can actually activate Cartesia's effect to fuse App Cologne plus the card in the hand, and that will then give you a Winder. So you've been able to get a negate, and then you've been able to follow that up with a Winder if you want to. Anyway, that's it for the profile. That's it for the combo. I'm now going to reset. And I know these are quite long, but I'm going to show you the Schemata one as well. So here is the more specific 3-card combo. Now you still have roots to Alistair in the form of 7 different cards in the deck when you look at Terraforming, the 2 additional copies of itself, plus you've also got to consider Magical Meltdown. The Schemata is very specific. There's only 2 ways to get to it, or a Foolish Barrel that can search it out through Hedgehog, and then of course your Shadow's Light again. This one's going to end on a much more powerful board, but it is much more specific. So you're going to normal summon the Alistair. Alistair is going to search you out Invocation. We're then going to activate Shadow's Light. You're going to go into Quem again. Quem will of course send Cartesia from the main deck to the graveyard. And then what you want to do here is again Alistair into Artemis. You then have the ability to trigger Quem's effect to bring back the Cartesia. You're then going to use Cartesia's effect to fuse itself with the Schemata, and this is going to get you into a Construct. You'll be able to go Chain Link 1 Schemata, Chain Link 2 Construct. What you want to do is you want to send Wendy and you want to send Incarnation. Wendy's effect will of course then trigger, and this will allow you to summon Ariel face down. You're then going to link off your Construct plus your Artemis, and you're going to go into Cross Sheep. Now you can gain back a little bit of advantage here just by able to activate the Construct effect to add back. You don't want to add back the Incarnation, but you can add back the Schemata, and you've just got a bit more fodder in the hand, and you've got that monster negate should you need to. You're then going to activate the invocation. Invocation, of course, will banish Alistair and will banish Artemis. And this is going to summon out Macabre. You'll then be able to trigger Cross Sheep's effect, and this is going to allow you to bring back Cartesia again. At this point here, again, you want to recycle the invocation, putting it back into the deck and getting your Alistair back to the hand. You can then activate Shadow's Light, and this is going to allow you to get an additional normal summon this turn. You don't want to do the additional normal summon yet because you want to get into an Appaloosa first, and the way you do that is you're going to banish your Incarnation plus your Construct, and this is going to allow you to flip Ariel face up. When Ariel is flipped face up, you will get the ability to special summon Construct face up as well, and then you'll get the effect to Foolish Burial card, which will be the Schism. You will then link your Ariel plus your Construct plus your Sheep and get yourself into Appaloosa for free. You'll then be able to trigger Construct's effect, and this will allow you to add back Schism to the hand. Now, using your additional normal summon, you're going to normal summon down your Alistair. You're going to use the effect to add the invocation back as well. And then you're going to want to sync your, not the Quem, the Cartesia plus your Alistair and go into a Savage Dragon. The Savage Dragon will then be able to equip the Cross Sheep from the graveyard, giving it 2 counters. And if that wasn't enough, you're going to activate Invocation. You're going to banish Alistair and you're going to banish the Wendy. And this is going to allow you to get into a quick effect, Book of Moon Raijin. Now you've got the ability to set the Schism. You've got a guaranteed monster negate off of Macabre. You've got 3 monster negates off of Appaloosa, and you've got the negate off of Savage. So then during your opponent's turn, you can activate Schism early. That will then allow you to control how the board state goes. The only access you have at the moment is 2 Shaddoll monsters, which is going to get you into an App Cologne, which will give you another on-board negate. And then should it leave the field, you're going to be able to push a little bit further. There is a way where you can choose to sync with Quem instead, leaving Cartesia on the board in its place, so that when you do summon out App Cologne, you can actually then choose to fuse using Cartesia's effect, the App Cologne plus the Schemata, and this will then in turn allow you to turn those into a Winder and then gain a resource off of the back of App Cologne and Schemata. So entirely up to you on how you'd want to present the end board or how you'd want to do it. But like, this board is absolutely cracked, but it is very specific. I feel the other board that I showed you as well is still very, very good. And it's not as specific. It does give you a bit more flexibility to play around. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this has given you a couple of ideas on the way that this deck is played, how it can be utilized going forward, and how it's still incredibly fun and very, very powerful. Yes, it does kind of fight with the current meta staples in the form of stuff like Draw and Lockbird, and obviously Ash Blossoms, Evenly, stuff like that. But the deck is still very, very powerful, very, very good, and very fun to play. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. For now, as always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.